All right, so we're going to talk steps to dividing scientific notation. So the first thing we do is if there is a decimal, you move the decimal over one place to the right to make it into a whole number. So we make it into a whole number, essentially, if we can. And then once we do that, then we divide the whole numbers, aka the coefficients. And then we subtract the exponents, making all sorts of typos. And just be careful when you are taking one away from a negative exponent. Okay, so just be careful when we have to move that one over, if it's not in scientific notation form. Okay, so if you need to look over those things, pause, but otherwise I'm gonna keep on going. So the first thing we said we need to do is to divide our whole number, right? We said we're going to divide our whole numbers, so we're dividing 6 and 3. What's 6 divided by 3? 6 divided by 3 is 2, and we write just times 10. And then we have to subtract these numbers, right? So what's 9 minus negative 5? Well, we do keep, change. That's really 9 plus 5, so it's 2 times 10 to the 14th power then. Okay? And let's do this one. This is one where we have a decimal on top. So we don't really want to keep that decimal, so we have to move it over one. And when we move it over one, we have to minus 1. So it's really 24 times 10, 9 minus 1 is 8, over 6 times 10 to the third, and then we divide. 24 divided by 6 is 4. And then we really have 8 minus 3. So we have 4 times 10, 8 minus 3 is 5. So then that's going to be our answer. So I'm going to do one more with you, and then I'm going to have you try one. So example 1, I'm going to do this one with you. Okay, so again, we divide these two numbers in front. What's 15 divided by 3? 15 divided by 3 is 5. And then we subtract these two numbers. 9 minus negative 5. We do keep, change. And that makes it 14 then. Okay, so I want you to pause and I want you to try B. I want you to try B. So pause and try B for me right now. Hopefully you got 1 times 10 to the 6, right? 5 divided by 5 is 1. 7 minus the implied 1 there is 6. Okay, so looking at C, we have to move this over one. When we move it over one, we subtract 1. So we have 12 times 10. Negative 2 minus 1 is really negative 3. Go by 3 times 10 to the negative 4. Remember, we divide these two. 12 divided by 3 is 4. Negative 3 minus negative 4. Keep, change becomes 1. So we have 4 times 10 to the first power. Right? I want you to try D. I want you to try D on your, right? So hopefully you got 3 times 10 to the 12. You had to move the decimal on the top by minusing 1. You had to move the decimal on the bottom, subtracting 1. And you had to divide and subtract. Okay? So looking at example 2, it's a word problem, right? So it says the volume of the sun is this length. And the volume of Jupiter is this length. We want to know how many times smaller is the volume of Jupiter compared to the volume of the sun. So in the directions it says show the fraction. We want to make a fraction, and it says the volume of Jupiter compared to the sun. So we put the bigger number on top for always. Always put the bigger number on top. So we have to figure out which one's bigger. Well, remember we look at our exponents. This is to the 18th. This is to the 15th. So the 18th goes on top. So the sun. So we're going to have the sun over Jupiter. So we have the sun, which is 1 times 10 to the 18th, over Jupiter, 1 times 10 to the 15th. And then we just divide, right? So we divide our whole numbers, which 1 divided by 1 is 1, and we subtract our exponents. 18 minus 15 is 3, so we have 1 times 10 to the third. But that doesn't really tell us how many times smaller. So what is 1 times 10 to the third? That's going to be 1,000. So it's 1,000 times smaller is what you should have your thing say, okay? 1,000 times smaller. So the only difference between what we did up top and here is that we have to write a fraction. We have to show the fraction. And then we have to write out the answer. So I want you to try B right now on your own. So pause and try B. All right, well, let's start here, right? So we have to look at our exponents. This one's 7 and this one's 4. And remember, largest is always on top. Okay, the largest is always on top. So football has 7, which is bigger than 4, so we divide. But now we go to divide like normal. Can we really divide 1 and 5? Can we do 1 divided by 5? No, right? We can't do that unless we want a decimal, which we don't. So we have to move this 1 over to make it 10. And then we subtract 1, right? So it's really 10 times 10 to the 6th over 5 times 10 to the 4th. And now we can divide that. 10 divided by 5 is 2. 6 minus 4 is 2. And what is 2 times 10 to the second power? It's 200 times larger. Okay? Hi.